Main characters in this story: me, 28 female, husband, 29 male, sister-in-law, 31 female. My sister-in-law drives me crazy. She's the epitome of someone who wants to have her cake and eat it too. Husband and sister-in-law grew up very well off and enjoyed a great lifestyle, frequent vacations, eating out often, getting any clothes, toys they want. They've since been lightly cut off by their parents. I say lightly because their parents still pay for family vacations, flights back home, and other one-off expenses, especially for sister-in-law. My husband has a pretty great job, and I do too, so we're financially independent and have a pretty nice lifestyle. My sister-in-law is the opposite. She quit her previously high-paying job for one that pays 1/3 because she wanted to have a job that has a good impact on society. And I wholeheartedly admit that she is doing great work out there. But she still wants the same lifestyle she grew up with. The end result is that she vacations more often than us, eats out all the time, in particular, sushi, etc., but has absolutely zero savings. Seriously, zero. Her mom has her bank account details so she can check if sister-in-law is getting close to overdrafting, which happens frequently. Anyways, cut to the issue. Usually husband and I pick out gifts for their parents, run them by sister-in-law, and she chips in whatever she can, and the gifts are labeled as being from all three of us. The last few years, her contributions have been getting smaller and smaller. Until this year, we sent out our obligatory "just pay what you think you can" text, and she liked the text, but sent us nothing. We texted her again to ask if she could chip in $20 or $50, and she said sorry, finances are a bit tight right now, but thanks for covering her part. My husband is an extremely kind man and a bit of a pushover. He said it was fine, he could cover it. I'm less chill, especially when it comes to money. I texted her if she could consider skipping a sushi dinner or two and Venmo us, otherwise the gift would be labeled as just from husband and I. I know for a fact she gets sushi at least once a week from social media. Anyway, she's now mad and claims I don't respect her job, life, etc. Husband actually sides with me because he sees her willingness to pay for sushi every week, but not chip in for gifts for her parents, as being disrespectful. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole for taking her name off the gifts. I think that is just enabling to allow her to be on the gifts when she's not contributing to them. I would, however, be very cautious of judging how someone spends their money. She can spend her money on all of the sushi, but by the same token, you can spend your money on gifts that only has your husband's and your name on it. Your sister-in-law is a product of being able to do as she likes, and being aware that there was a golden parachute somewhere to save her. Not the a-hole. No money, no name on the gift. Perhaps her parents will see her for the sponge she is then. Functioning adults don't have mommy and daddy attached to their account to protect them from an overdraft. Not the a-hole for deciding to discontinue letting her put her name on gifts she didn't contribute to. She's 31 for Pete's sake, not a teenager. It's time to treat her like an adult who makes her own choices, and that includes picking weekly sushi dinners over holiday gift giving. I think it's perfectly natural to feel judgmental about why she can't contribute, because her taking advantage of your generosity in this situation makes you a bit complicit in it. Personally, I think you could tell your sister-in-law, "You're right, I do feel judgmental, because in this case, I feel taken advantage of. So I think if you buy your own gifts, if and when you can afford them, I won't have a reason to judge your lifestyle choices anymore, and the problem solves itself." My husband, Rob, 39 male, and I, 29 female, recently moved to another country from the USA, and we have 3 toddlers and a newborn. We decided it would be extremely helpful to hire an English-speaking nanny. Our friends, the Kents, knew of and recommended a potential candidate, Olivia, 18 female. After the initial interview, we were under the impression she would be a good fit. We assisted with getting her passport, her visa, special winter clothing, and plane tickets, approximately $2,000 USD. We spent hours talking to her, asking her questions, and offering advice. The week she was here, she said was taking a while to overcome jet lag, so we tried to give her some time and space getting settled down. Every day she seemed tired, disinterested, and unmotivated. She was asked to feed the baby, got frustrated and told him to shut up. Another evening, she laid him in his crib face down into a bunched-up blanket, which could have suffocated him. I caught it as soon as it happened, and when confronted, she gave a half-hearted apology as she quickly walked away. Other things happened, but you get the idea. She was making food and began eating raw ground meat. Rob told her she should cook it. She argued, and then got food poisoning. She also refused to wash dishes and hardly offered to assist with any housework. She spent the majority of her time here on the phone, watching the kids' videos, and alone in her own room. Later, we learned the 3rd day of her stay, she told a boy, close to her age, she came to Geneva because she wanted to be here, not because she wanted to help us and wasn't taking the nanny position seriously. Her last day here, I sat down with her and told her this wasn't working, and Olivia fully admitted she did not want a nanny and was waiting on us to say something first. Rob confronted her, expressing frustration. She apologized and said he was correct and she felt bad. We were ready to find other accommodations locally, but she decided to go live with the Kents. We parted on somewhat good terms. The next day, the Kents accused us of withholding wages from Olivia for the week. We were never able to officially nail down wages or duties, though she had an understanding of our expectations prior, because she made us believe she had jet lag or was just overwhelmed, so we tried to push her and quickly realized we couldn't really trust her. She told the Kents that she worked very hard for 14 hours every day. However, she rarely came out of her room before 8 a.m., was sick for a full 24 hours, left the house a few different times to socialize or complete her registration, and the majority of the time she just hung out and texted. I felt like I was taking care of another child. Am I the a-hole for not paying her anything for her time? Not the a-hole. She admitted herself she didn't want the job and was waiting for you to say something. That's pretty much confessing that she used your family to pay for her flight. Tell the Kents to kick rocks. I don't know why it's any of their business. Offer to pay her wages if she returns the $2,000 airfare. Not the a-hole. She took advantage of you and the situation to get to your country at your expense. Tell the Kents exactly what happened, and if they still think you're the a-hole, then they aren't worth having as friends. As for the nanny, tell her you expect her to pay back your expenses. How I see this is you had an agreement. You would pay her for services rendered, i.e., her working as a nanny. The whole time, you were trying to fulfill your part of the agreement. She, however, never intended to fulfill this, as she admitted to you. Worst part, she could have harmed the baby. So, who broke the agreement? It was Olivia. Does she deserve to get paid? You have enough grounds to say no. In fact, it's even nice that you're not going after the $2,000 you spent on her. Not the a-hole in the slightest. My future mother-in-law can be extremely sensitive. I'm not someone to brush someone's feelings off, but when she gets in one of her moods, she is really looking for a reason to play the victim. She is also very different with different people. She can be super playful and have a good sense of humor, but she's never liked me. We'll just say she doesn't think I'm good enough for her son. I recently had a bridal shower. Mother-in-law and one of my friends work at the same company. They don't really know each other. Mother-in-law is an executive, and there are middle manager types in between them. They had a company Christmas party recently, and apparently, the CEO dropped mother-in-law. He was trying to dance with her, super drunk, and somehow threw her over his shoulder. My friend told me about it because she thought it was funny. Mother-in-law mentioned it as well because she is in pain when she moves a certain way. For some background, mother-in-law has always thought she was fat, despite being probably a size 4. But she likes to eat, binge, and then always feels bad about herself. She looks amazing, though. I get the impression that she thinks he dropped her because she was fat, which is totally ridiculous. Guy was wasted and grabbed her in an awkward position. Anyway, we had my bridal shower the day after, and I asked mother-in-law how she was. Someone asked her if she was embarrassed, and she said no, as it was his fault. Mother-in-law then said her dress did go up, though. My friend chimed in as a joke and said her underwear said Wednesday when it was Friday. It was clearly a joke, but mother-in-law got pissy. For the record, she just had normal lace panties, no riding, and she doesn't dress like an elementary kid. My friend thought it was funny and kept insisting her underwear said Wednesday, and finally mother-in-law yelled at me to tell my friend to shut the duck up. I was shocked and said it wasn't a big deal, she was just being silly. Mother-in-law said we were both idiots. I thought it was left at that, but apparently she whined to people afterwards that we picked on her and that I should have made my friend shut up. Literally, it was such a silly, immature joke to begin with and lasted maybe 5 minutes with a couple of people saying Wednesday after. She doesn't have this level of anger for the dude who dropped her on her head. You're the a-hole. You joked about her underwear for 5 minutes after she told you to stop. What exactly was the joke? If she's not laughing, it wasn't funny. You're the a-hole. You should have shut that joke down the minute that your mother-in-law verbally said that she was uncomfortable. Regardless of your prior relationship with her, when someone is uncomfortable with jokes being made at their expense, it should be shut down. I don't think you would appreciate being made fun of for something that severely embarrassed you. It's certainly not going to win you any brownie points with your mother-in-law going forward. You're the a-hole. If someone doesn't like being teased, don't do it. I feel like that's a basic and very easy lesson. If people persist teasing someone who is uncomfortable, the only way they are finding that joke funny is that they are taking pleasure in the other person's discomfort. You don't get to decide for them that it's okay. I also have no idea what your mother-in-law's body image and possible eating disorder has to do with this. So I, female 17, grew up poor. Like no heat during winter and barely eating at the end of the month poor. Despite that, I've become friends with pretty rich people 2 years ago. We're a friend group of 7, and 2 of them are very, very rich. Last year, my mom married a man who happened to be extremely rich. To be very clear, my mom did not marry him for his money. She's a hardworking woman, and when she met my stepdad, she didn't know about his money. She knew when they got engaged, and our lives really changed. I'm forever grateful for him and will never take his money for granted. The problem comes from the fact he gives me an allowance. I won't say a number, but it's pretty high for my age and allow me to spoil myself. The deal, though, is that I don't ask him for money outside of this, except for birthday and Christmas. Recently, my friends started to plan a trip. To celebrate our last year in high school, we wanted to do a road trip that would last the whole of July. Until now, it was going pretty smoothly, and we were convinced we would be able to do so. Most of the parents had said yes. But the cost was brought up in a conversation, and we had a big fight. With the car fuel, the hotels, the food, etc., we were around $3,000, without counting anything extra, so around $400 per person. One of the people in the group, Max, said he definitely wouldn't be able to go. He's very poor. I suggested to pay for him. He was shocked and very grateful, but honestly, it felt normal. But then one of my friends, Elise, suggested I paid for everything because I was definitely able to. To which I answered, what the duck? Because yes, I could pay for everyone, but none of them in the group wasn't wealthy enough to pay for themselves without much trouble. And not in a I've been working for years and managed to gather enough money, more in a my parents will give me the money. Elise insisted, and I snapped because none of them suggested to pay for Max, even though they totally could have. And they would never have paid for me if I stayed poor. I'm convinced if I couldn't afford this trip for me and Max, both of us wouldn't have gone. Elise insisted it wasn't true, called me a selfish bee that made a subtle reference to the fact it was Daddy's money, and we haven't been speaking since. One of my closest friends in the group, Astrid, told me she had said multiple times it was very convenient my mother hadn't known about the money before the engagement. I'm sad we had a fight like that, and I feel like paying for them would resolve everything. I don't want to do a favor to Elise, but I also feel bad for the others in the group. So am I the a-hole for not paying for all of my friends? Edit. I think it's important to mention I do buy them a lot of things. When we go out to eat, I pay for everyone 90% of the time. I bought a PS5 to Max for his birthday, and a $1,000 dress to Cheryl since she wishes to work in the fashion industry. They never bought me anything when I was poor, but I don't hold grudges. They all have a pretty bad relationship with their parents, which makes it harder to ask for money, and I would have refused anyway. Not the a-hole. Your friends sound like awful people. You do someone a favor and everyone puts their hand out. It doesn't matter whose money it is, whether you work for it or anything else. They are just being petty and probably jealous. Not the a-hole. Your friends obviously got way too comfortable using you as a wallet. Don't buy anything for them anymore. Well, maybe Max, since he actually has the decency to be grateful and accept your generosity as a gift, not your obligation to him. The rest, you can drop. Elise is way out of line. Lucky for you, they showed their true colors before the trip. Get better friends. Better yet, get true friends. My mom is finally getting married to my stepdad after many years together. Super small backyard wedding, etc. It's very informal. She invited a small group of friends and family via Facebook message. Less than 10 people. No venue bookings or anything, just at the house. I let her know that the date she chose is my dad's death date, and that's a weird day to have a wedding. I still struggle with his death a lot. Cancer. I let her know that it's a weird date, and I'm not sure I can be present and happy on this day, and that it was really weird. Context. When my dad passed, we were all there. It was very traumatic for me to watch him die, and also the stuff that happens after. It was only 4 years ago. My mom was always very jealous through his illness that we didn't spend any time with her. She lives 7 hours drive away. She would say things like it feels like the wrong parent died, and that she had been waiting for him to pass so we could finally spend more time with her, and that she had been keeping her mouth shut the entire time he was sick. About 6 years he had cancer before he passed. And that I'm not the kid she thought she had, and I should just get over it already. Needless to say, it's a touchy subject for us. I had to swallow all of this and never got a real apology for it, so we could have a relationship. I told her all of this, and she responded that he is dead, and she is still alive, and if I feel that way, she will just cancel the whole wedding. I asked her if she can just acknowledge my feelings about it, and why does she want her anniversary on the same day her ex-husband died? She did not, and said if I don't come, she's just going to cancel the entire thing. Am I the a-hole if I don't attend? Your mom, the a-hole, is wrong here, and she's not being a very supportive parent. The date thing is pretty ducked up. If she fails to acknowledge this, maybe it's time to start distancing yourself from her a little more. You are grieving the loss of your father, which will be a memory you carry with you for the rest of your life. Your mom should be way more sensitive to this. Not the a-hole, but why on God's green earth are you even in contact with her? She is as self-centered as someone can get. She is toxic and now tries to manipulate you. Don't let her. Not the a-hole. Your mom sounds incredibly emotionally manipulative and a typical narcissist. If she weren't a narcissist, her reaction to her accidentally setting her backyard 10-people wedding on the anniversary of your dad's death would be apologizing and moving the date. Instead, she is trying to manipulate you into attending her wedding on an incredibly painful day for you to get revenge on your dead father because of jealousy over cancer. Only a narcissist would do this to their own child.